to order of the Select Board on Monday, June 7th at 6:32. Does anybody on the board have a conflict of interest with anything shown on the agenda?
No.
No.
Nope.
I don't either. Joe? We have minutes from May 17th. Entertain a motion to
So moved.
accept them. That's a move by Tony,
Second.
seconded by Mike. Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the minutes as printed, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried. Do we have some warrants?
You have warrants? We have, I'm gonna have to read these off.
Yep.
Because I lost the computer.
Okay.
So we have payroll warrant 24 for $22,798.74.
So moved.
Second?
Second, that's a move by Tony, second by Mike. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion so carried, 500.
Recording in progress.
Next is check warrant 37 for $53,412.62.
So moved.
That's a move by Tony,
Second?
second by Mike.
The major items on here are 4214 to Innovative Surface, 3791 for Innovative Surface, that's road chloride. New England Municipal Resource 950, that's work with the listers. And $8,717, which was fire department equipment, which was previously approved. And the big one, $30,544, which was our second payment for insurance for the year, for all the town insurance. We make 2 payments a year on it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? So carried, 500. That it?
That's
Or-
it for the warrants,
That's
yes?
for warrants, okay. The one big announcement that I have is that next Monday, week from today, here at Cole Hall at 6:30, we are having a public meeting to discuss, actually the engineering company Dufresne Engineering will be down here to discuss the water main replacements throughout town, basically Main Street, Hawks Ave, or Ledgely Drive, part of Ledgely Drive, and Church Street. And so anybody that's interested or has any questions or any concerns, we will have a representative from Dufresne here. She'll have PowerPoints and so on and so forth. So, and the building is open. If you are not vaccinated, we just ask you to wear a mask. So we are in business. It seems good.
That was 6:30, you said?
6:30, yes.
And we will be making a recording of it so that it'll be available on a link from our webpage for those who can't make it that night.
And just another comment, I think it's really great that Vermont, I think, leads the nation in number of vaccinated people. It's been a joint working progress. It's been a team effort as one, and it's good. We think we need to congratulate ourselves. Any other announcements?
Yeah, I have one, and just one more on the water board. We will be updating the webpage with a Zoom link and some other details as the meeting comes closer, so you should check the webpage.
Okay.
And also, I've asked Mike to put up on the webpage also something from a grant program, the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. It provides a discount of $50 per month towards broadband service for eligible households, and also some one-time discounts for purchase of laptops. They have a link, it's a federal program, it's part of the Emergency Relief Act, so, if you are interested in broadband assistance, you should check out that program.
I posted that, and I also posted the other, the survey that you had for the Recreation Committee, but I'm
Yeah.
not sure if the link was working for the survey. It was sending me to log in to something rather than.
Oh, okay.
So we just might need to check that link. It is live right now, but I can fix it as soon as we get the right one.
Anybody else have any other public comments? That it for you, Dave?
That's it.
And I did update the website also to say that the building is open, or at least to not say that it's closed, I guess. So
Thank you.
that has been updated on the website as well.
Public comments? Cinda, I think later on we will be talking about what I think you want to talk about, if you want to wait till then.
Cinda, do you hear us?
Well, only sort of.
Okay, we're
I can hear Dave clearly, but the select board is virtually impossible. It's very muddy and garbled, so I'm sorry.
okay. But maybe you can just tell her what I just said, Dave.
Oh, Cinda,
Is there any,
what we'll
I don't
do
know
is,
what microphone.
yeah, well, we had a different system, but one of my laptops went down, so it's taking part of my audio away. So what we can do is, we're gonna talk about Brownell actually next, so, or 2 lines down. So I take it that's what you're here for?
Yeah, the Brownell thing, yeah.
Okay,
We'll get to that in just a couple of minutes.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
is there any other public comments? Yes, go ahead.
What's the protocol here?
You can,
The chair next.
please state your name and.
Hi, my name is Sue Andrews, and I reside at 19 Hewitt Drive in Shaftsbury. And I'm here tonight to express concern about some observations at the transfer station. Last couple of times I've been there frequently because we're preparing to move. There is an unbelievable amount of recycling that gets put in the trash. And the thing that concerns me the most is the plastics. In talking with David, he told me that you have to pay for it one way or the other. But the issue is, from the point of view of the earth, we're not paying for what happens to plastics that go into the trash and then get into our water system. So I just, I had read in the banner that there was a discussion about the contract coming up, and I just wondered if it was time to have some kind of a citizens committee or some citizen input to see if we can help to improve people's behaviors around recycling. Because we know this stuff is happening. If you throw a soda bottle in the trash, it's going to end up in the drinking water of the people downstream in a couple of years when it starts to break down.
Okay. Dave, does our trash go to a center that then sorts it
Yeah, Casella does zero sort, so they sort things up there
after?
they get put in, and we commingle it here and it gets sorted. I think they do it in Rutland, but I couldn't swear to that.
So it's possible that a soda bottle that's put in the trash is sorted out up there?
Well, they're not sorting the trash. Now, if things are going in the compactor, that's it. What goes in the
Okay.
compact stays in the compactor.
Okay, that isn't sorted.
That's not sorted, no. It's only what dumps out of the commingled container gets sorted.
Are you seeing plastics in the compactor?
Yes, well, two things that really disturb me. One is, big trash bags full of 5-cent returnables.
Yeah.
And I know you said people aren't required to, go back for their deposits, but it seems like we as a town can say we don't want that stuff in our trash because it's going to get in the water aquifers. And the other thing that I'm very aware of is how much food is going into the trash. And not just food, but food, I think, in jars and cans. Again, it's a behavioral issue. It's easier to throw out an outdated can just by chucking it in the wastebasket than to open it up and recycle or compost the contents and then recycle the can. So it just seems like at 2021 we could be doing a lot better. One of my sisters lives in Italy, and they recycle everything. And in a month, she and her husband have between 1 and 1.5 pounds of trash. So it's not, like these overflowing bins that you see in our neighbors' yards.
Okay. We'll certainly take it under advisement, but you would suggest a citizens committee to kind of try
Yeah,
to...
I mean, I've never come to this board before. I don't know what the protocol is. I'd be very happy to be involved. I am in the process of moving to North Bennington sometime in the next year, but this concerns me enough that I would like to be involved with seeing if we can't get to a better place.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah, as I mentioned too, I think when we if the board decides that we take over the transfer station, we have different opportunities to do things like that and provide a little bit more educational
Structure.
things up there
Mhm,
on what you
mhm.
should be sorting and everything.
Sure.
Because as I explained, the whole place is basically run by Casella now.
Mhm, mhm.
And that's built, I
Right.
assume we're going the route that's going to change July 1st.
I mean, there are steps that can be taken. I lived in Berkeley 40 years ago, and they, at that time, went from bags that you couldn't see through to clear bags. And anybody who was found putting recyclables into clear bags had to take them home again. It's that kind of thing. So there are some ways that we could improve it. And I know down at the Bennington station, everything gets thrown on this big floor and a big machine digs it up. So again, any sins you have in terms of things that you're throwing out that really should be recycling are there for the worker, the staff
Yeah,
person
yeah.
to see. So, I'm not trying to be negative. I just, I'd like to see us
No.
get to a better
No,
place.
you're right.
We know better than this at this
Okay.
point.
Okay.
So we can definitely look into that as we transition to this phase of it.
Okay. Well, you have my telephone
Yeah, I mean,
number.
I'll be in touch, definitely.
Okay.
Thank you,
Great.
Sue. very
Yeah,
much.
thank you. Good to see you all.
Turn the camera around to face me so I can put your reports up.
Welcome, Melanie.
Hello, everybody.
Good to see you in person now, huh?
It's good to be back. Although I've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
Do you have that there, Dave?
Yeah, just take a minute to get back to it. Your laptop giving all that feedback threw me completely off. We'll start with the reserve funds, because that's the one I
Oh,
picked
sure,
up.
yep. There's only 2 things that happened in the reserve accounts in the month of May. I'll just talk while you're bringing it up. It was our big month for water, so the main thing is we took in a lot of cash with water. The other thing is that I did the transfer of, I think it's half of Marlene's fees go into this restoration fund. That's a new fund that we just created, I think, last year. So you'll see down at the very bottom of that spreadsheet, you see 22,000. So that's, I missed a couple of quarterly transfers. I'm going to get into the habit of doing it quarterly. It only matters at the end of the fiscal year, but so that's why it's such a large amount. At the last meeting, Marlene brought it to my attention that she knew she had a lot more money than the $3,700 I was showing, and I said, "Don't worry, it's just cash." But anyway, so it's in the right place now.
So what is the
Yeah,
restoration fund?
Please explain that one.
It's I think it was a state mandate that we
Oh, right.
that we put aside money to restore old records. I think to digitize them. Is that what it is, Dave?
Yeah, it's a state program, and we put it.
That's right.
Yeah. So we're mandated to.
So when she does something that is, files something, when somebody pays her for filing a will or something like that, half of that money goes into this.
It's not necessarily half. There's a state schedule for what amount on each transaction goes into this fund.
Right. It's. I got. Marlene gives me the breakdown.
Yeah,
but-
okay.
So that's all that's going on with the reserve funds. We've got plenty of money, no concerns there at all.
Yeah, what thing was I missing?
And then with the cash flow, some of this we've already talked about at the last meeting, but I'll just review it for you. We got a very large chunk of delinquent tax money. I think I mentioned that last meeting. That was from the sale of that house that had been in arrears for many years. And then the other.
Are you still talking about the restoration fund?
Yeah, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, it's, we get $15 a page for recording. $4 from every page goes into the restoration fund. I don't need it's state
Marlene,
mandated.
you're gonna have to come up here and speak up here.
Oh, sorry.
No one's gonna
It's
be able to
state
hear you.
mandated. And this is for the vault, to protect our vault. We could use it to update the vault. We can use it to restore books, anything like that. So
Okay,
that's what it's for.
thank you.
The other large chunk of money that came in was the first of 2 school tax reconciliations. That's, it seems like a lot of money, but when you consider it in terms of the entire education budget, that's actually rounding error. And they do a preliminary cash flow, and then this is the final adjustment. So that's one of 2 that we'll get, and I think the other one is about the same amount. So it's nice to get the extra cash this time of year, but that was not unexpected. See at the bottom there, you see the other side of that restoration fund transfer, because it came out of the general fund when it went back to the reserve account. And the bottom line with our cash, I keep saying we're in very good shape for lots of reasons that I've mentioned a few times. If you want to go down to the bottom, Dave, you can see how we're doing versus budget. That extra revenue there is that sale of equipment, a one-time occurrence. If you take that out, we're still better than budget. And with expenditures, you can see compared to last year, we're spending about the same amount of money, but because the budget's a little higher, we're doing better as a percentage in our expenditures. And I still don't think we're going to need to get a tax anticipation note this year. If a hurricane comes through and we run out of cash, that's always an option. But as of right now, it doesn't look like we're going to need it. Any questions about any of that?
Anybody?
No.
And we've got the auditors coming in on Friday. It's for a one-time VEMR's thing that I'm not really not very involved in, but so they'll be around our usual auditors all day Friday, I think, right, Dave?
Yeah, well, basically, we were picked out of a hat. The state is just auditing a bunch of VEMR's funds around the state, and we were one of the towns picked. It just happens to be our auditing firm got the state contract, so he's coming in. We only have 1 new employee. We only have 7 people in VEMR's, so we don't think it's going to take very long.
What's Beamers?
It's a state pension plan.
Correct.
It's a statewide audit, and they just select towns. I don't know how they came up with them, but we just happen to be one. But it's definitely one of the smaller ones they have.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you, Melanie.
thank you.
Thank you.
As we move on to the next thing, I'll just have to say, the members of the board who are speaking are going to need to project because we lost the microphone. So
Okay.
if I move this too far up, we're not going to see everybody. And to the people at home watching, this is our first experiment trying to do it on 2 platforms, and we lost one of our laptops, so that's not helping things at all. But if you're having trouble hearing, just raise your hand, and we'll see if we can get them to be louder. So, okay, so we'll move on to the next item, and I'll turn this around back to the board.
Okay, it is the Brownell's Salvage Yard renewal. And I think I need Dave to explain this. It's not the same as it used to be. The state have changed the rules and so on and so forth. I called up Bill and Cinda because they are neighbors and told them about the meeting tonight, and she had lots of questions that I could not answer. So Can you hear me, Cinda?
Cinda, can you hear Art okay? No?
Okay. I really need Dave to explain it anyway, so.
All right, well, why don't I start with the basics of it, that what happened was we received the application from Grinnell's Salvage Yard. In reviewing the past application under section 2255, number C, letter C, certificates of approval shall be renewed thereafter for successive periods of not more than 5 years upon payment of the renewal fee without hearing, provided all provisions of this subchapter are complied with during the preceding period, and the salvage yard does not become a public nuisance under common law. So I checked that with Vincent Chiorgno, my apologies for probably not saying that right, to check that a hearing is not required, and he confirmed that you are correct, you may issue renewal under that provision. He also stated that he recently inspected Brownells and found them in compliance with the state salvage yard rules. And those went into effect just prior to the last renewal. So the state now inspects them on a regular basis and makes sure that they are following the state rules. So that was the basis for the hearing isn't required under the state statute for a renewal, a simple renewal. In the 5 years since we last did this, I've not received a single complaint about the operation of the yard. So we wanted to put this on the agenda tonight just for this purpose. If there were people who were concerned about it, we'd like to hear from them.
Go ahead, Cinda.
So, okay. So one of the questions I have does the application describe what is currently going on at the junkyard? It was my understanding that at some point, some of the more controversial or potentially polluting activities got moved to their other site, and I'm sorry, I don't know where the other site is, I can't remember.
It's down in Walloomsac.
New York State, nearby New York State. And so can you describe what is actually still going on here and what the state is in fact monitoring on a regular basis? At one point, there was a fair bit of surface water contamination that was also running into the stream. I believe most of that has been addressed. We certainly don't see the rusty water that used to be pervasive. So that's been kind of an interesting process to watch the system clean itself. But it would be interesting to know what still goes on there and what the state monitors.
The approval and that water monitoring had ended prior to the last approval under the state guidelines and also part of the salvage yard rules. What we approved the last time was exactly what they want this time. There's nothing unusual in it. It stays exactly the way it's been for the last 5 years. There's no request for car crushing, which I believe is all moved to Walloomsac anyway. There's just nothing different that he is applying for. He would have to put that in as a stipulation. He's just asking for approval of the location of the current certificate.
Okay, but so they're not car crushing, but it doesn't say exactly what they are doing. And do you know what the state is monitoring?
I can find out what the state's monitoring. Under the state salvage yard rules, they have a list. It's their responsibility to make sure that these yards are being operated correctly. And he just inspected it. He just said that it was without a problem.
And does the town have any guidelines other than that such facilities will comply with whatever the state requirements? I don't know if there are federal requirements, but state and federal requirements, and we don't have any separate requirements in the town.
What would be approved, again, what we would be looking approved was the approval with conditions that are the same as the approval of conditions from 5 years ago, which I can email you that because there are 14 of them. So I could email you that list if you'd like to look at them.
And does the state monitor those conditions, or are we monitoring those conditions? Were those imposed locally or from the state?
There's a few that are imposed locally, like the bushes in front of the fence, not using the cook property. Let's see, the hours of operation. And all these would be more obvious to you people in the neighborhood if any of these were being violated. They're all pretty straightforward. It's not, the fence surrounding shall be kept in good order, no junk vehicles and parts out front, everything has to be below the fence line. Let's see. Parking must be off White Creek Road. And the big one, of course, is the salvage yard shall be operated consistent with all applicable environmental laws and regulations, and it must adhere to the requirements of 24 VSA 2241. Salvage yard operations must be consistent with any applicable court orders, including such order of the Bank Superior Court dated May 14, 2004. So all that is in there, and most everything that was in that court order also is part of the salvage yard rules. I have to turn you all
Okay,
around for a minute.
so-
I have to admit somebody.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
I'm assuming that you're not making a decision this evening so that, you might have an opportunity to, review the documents that have been submitted and I'm not sitting here with any, list of complaints. That isn't really the point. I just want to make sure that whatever is in there that we're supposed to be keeping track of, we are in fact keeping track of.
The state's done that, right?
Yeah, the state is the main inspector of it. We don't inspect his property. We would respond to any complaints because most of this would be visible from the outside. We don't inspect the actual operations inside the yard. If cars were being crushed, we would hear that, but he still is allowed under the last ruling and the ruling before that to go back to that operation with notification. But all the groundwater issues, they've all been rectified. They were rectified before the last renewal. The application itself, I don't know if I can scan that to you, but it's just the application for a certificate of an approved location. This location is approved and he's not asking for any changes since the last approval. But I can send you our sorry, go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Did you say that this had been approved or that this is pending?
Well, this is a pending. What he's asking to be approved is what was approved 5 years ago. Because if there were changes to it, then we would have to have a hearing.
Yeah. Okay, so are you planning to make a decision this evening, or will those interested be able to review documents and send a note back to you that either we want to have more chat or none needed?
Well, no, this is not a decision. Actually, the point of putting it on the agenda was to see if there were questions out there. Because, as I said, I've not heard anything about this since the last time we approved it. So what I'll do is I'll send off to you the last approval, and just get in touch with me with questions.
Okay, great.
But I want to reemphasize that the town is not responsible for the 14 checkpoints on that checklist. The state has already done that and says he is in compliance.
Yeah, the state has said that he's in compliance with the salvage yard rule, yes. And then the other things,
Okay, so
the individual plants in the front, they're there. There's nothing above the fence line. All the local things, which are basically, that's it. They are there.
So does the state issue a report summarizing their 5 years of inspections?
Not to us. They would have that up in the state. If there were notifications, if there was some kind of issue, they would be addressing it. And they wouldn't have just told me on the phone that they didn't have a problem with the
No.
believe me, that the state's short-staffed and doesn't probably have time to just wander around, and, check things just as a preventative, activity.
No,
So
that's too,
if they're only responding, if we're all only responding to complaints, that's not the same thing as a routine inspection, once a year or once every 2 years, however often they do it, that actually checks some things and confirms that, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
no, we're talking about two different things. The state, under the salvage yard rule, regularly inspects salvage yards to make sure that they're following and within the compliance with state rules. What I said was the town, myself, has not received a complaint over the last 5 years of any operation there.
Yeah,
But the state
Yeah.
has a separate responsibility and they inspect it. They don't forward their reports to us. In the email from the Waste Management and Prevention Division from the other day, the salvage yard program, he said that he had recently inspected and found them in compliance with the state salvage yard rules.
okay, so their reporting might be available online.
It's possible, I haven't looked for it.
Thank you.
Okay, you're gonna send her the,
Yeah, I'll send you the current list of things. Okay.
Great, thanks.
so, we aren't taking a vote tonight, but we just, we wanted to make the public aware, so that's what we're doing, okay? Any other questions or
Anybody
anything?
else?
Anybody else? Is there somebody else?
Anybody
Go
else with a question on Brownells? Nope, okay.
Okay. Okay, transfer station, operation new contract proposal.
Well, we did get feedback, entirely in favor of the town taking it over.
I did also.
Yep, from the group We the People, I was contacted, they wanted to be able to put the information on their, group, and I received several comments directly from members of that group, all in favor of us maintaining control of the transfer station. So, we're basically on that pathway if the board agrees, and what we'll do is I have, a lot of questions into Casella, the regional guy, because we have to have some form of contract. Most importantly to me is I want them to agree if we call, if Shelley's done at noon on Tuesday and calls and says the recyclables has to be swapped, I want it swapped before she comes to work Thursday. Currently, they're showing up when the yard's open and swapping containers, which is just ridiculous. So that'll be the big motion. And once we take it in over control, then we'll start looking at building the ramps correctly, putting the containers and enlarging containers in the right place. And even what the lady was speaking about tonight, we could use some more educational signs up there and prompting people to do the right things. There's some issues I think that need to be addressed, and if it's ours, we'll start addressing them. Like I said, it's been contracted out since I've been here probably forever.
Sure.
And the only responsibility we have past the gate right now is selling pay-it stickers. So it seems to me, and Art's had comments, that people want us to maintain control over it. So I think we're headed that way for July 1st. If need be, I'll be coming back to the board at the next meeting asking to assign an extension to the end of July with Casella, just so we can work out details if we get bogged down with something. Because I think they want to have just a quick, like they would do with a commercial operation. We're just going to have you, we're going to pick up your garbage.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're looking for. We need some checks and balances here. Like I said, especially the pickups, because if we're going to lose money anywhere, it's going to be on containers going at the wrong time. And as I mentioned before, each haul by itself is a fixed rate, somewhere with $200 to pick up and bring it back. So that control, we want to make sure we have over everything.
If they got a problem with, you said we had to use the larger containers.
No, they're all set, they'll buy them, of course, like everything, the lead time is way out, which is good,
Yeah.
because, we have to build the ramps. But then I also think I'm gonna have to go to an engineer to have the ramps designed, because they have to be ADA compliant, and they hopefully will be used for 20, 30 years, so we wanna make sure that they're designed that way. I still think we can build them ourselves, but we have to build them to the design.
Yeah.
you know.
There's a question there. And
A question? Yes, go ahead.
I'm Jerry Shu, and I just wanted to add my endorsement to having the town take over responsibility for the transfer station. I don't know if you remember, but I had complained a while ago about having to lift those containers over my head when
Yep.
I'm trying to empty the plastics into the bin. And I would be all for the town taking responsibility for the transfer station, making it easier for us to do it. And I think people would be more apt to comply with all the rules if they felt that they were being listened to, and making it easier for them to actually get rid of their trash.
Thank you. Anybody on the board? Comments or anything? What's your feelings on, do we post a job opening for 2 employees?
Well, we're still working on that,
Okay,
and I'm going to need to talk to Casella again about that. And we need to go into executive session to discuss any of that. And just a reminder that Greg is not a town employee,
that's right.
so we have to hire at least one person, because Greg is not a town employee. And I don't even know if Greg wants to stay, maybe he wants to stay with Casella, as far as I know. That's also the reason why, the next meeting will be the decision point on a lot of this stuff, because one thing I found with Casella is an email today will get you an email in a week or so. And it's been a lot of waiting on each step. But we're running out of time, so we may just ask for an extension. And I'm ready to just bring something to the board and just get this over with. But before we even move in a personnel direction or anything, we have to settle with them.
Okay, so we should plan on an executive session possibly next meeting?
Yeah, we'll know where we're going by the next meeting. And I think it will wind up to a bit of a extension for a month, which
Okay.
I'm sure they're not gonna have any objection to. But we should mention here too, that we had planned on raising the rates from $1 to $2 last July 1st.
And backed off.
And we backed off because of the pandemic. We do need to reinstate those starting July 1st to $2 per bag. That is not even as much as most places are charging now. We're very far behind. It's been many years since that's been raised. This year, going forward, whether we changed or stayed with Casella, or they ran, or we ran it, everyone has to pay for recycling now. Our portion of that is going to go up to about $25,000 for recycling. That we're not charging for recycling at the transfer station, but that's a whole new bill. That is pretty much going to eat up that dollar increase. Instead of decreasing the loss of operating the facility, we're actually going to fall a little bit further behind. But that's just the reality of it. So if the board wants to think of that and vote it again, we'll post a sign up there that starting July 1st, the pay will be $2 per bag. It is what the board voted on over, almost 2 years ago now, and the pandemic put it off for a year.
We can do that now.
Yep.
Any discussion on that? So what you're saying is that it would be $2 per bag for garbage. If they pull out the recycling out of that, they aren't charged for that, but it's got to go in the recycling
That's
container.
still recycling, yeah.
So it's to their benefit to pull the recycling
Yeah.
out. Otherwise, they're going to pay.
They're paying more. If they were putting recycling in the compactor, they're just paying more money.
Right.
So it would be much better. And what's especially true, as
So-
Susan mentioned, was what should be compost. Now we have compost we don't charge for there, that we pay the tab on that. You're putting that stuff or leaving that in your garbage bag. That's probably the heaviest part of your garbage. So you're just paying more money you don't have to pay if you would just separate things. But and this would only apply to the bags going in the compactor, just as it is now. Because we don't want to get into charging for recyclables. We don't want to get in charge with paying for composting, because that just means more things won't make it that far. So, it's just a cost.
And just so it's clear, it's actually right now it's $1 per 12 pounds.
Pounds.
I think it's not necessarily per bag.
No, it's per 12
per
pounds,
12,
that's what the
yeah.
scale's for.
So it'll be $2 per 12 pounds going forward.
Yeah, 2 for 12, 4 for 24, and so on. Did I see a hand up on the board? No? Okay. Okay, so,
Any comments or any other?
Is there any way, David, you could get away with, say, 75 cents or something?
no, because operationally, it'd be a quarter nightmare, because we'd have change everywhere.
I mean, my concern is, and it's been that way for years and years, that if you get it too expensive, or the more expensive you get it, the more you're going to find beside the road.
Well, there's two ways of looking at that. First, we're probably the lowest rate anywhere in the county. The second is, if you're using the transfer station, you're already getting pretty much a 50% discount from the home pickup. Because you're paying $48 or $42 roughly a month for home pickup, and you're not coming anywhere near that, even when you add in the access permit to use the transfer station. So you're already saving well beyond anything else using the transfer station. But we can't have it be such a loss leader. I mean, it's really does not pay for itself. So we're not asking the people who use it to pay for the whole operation, but bringing it up from $1, which I don't have the notes in front of me, but it hasn't changed from that in well, years and years and years. And everything's more expensive. It seems like a big jump, but $1 to $2 is not much.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that, you
Oh,
know.
I know, and I appreciate that, and I was trying to think about that, because you don't want to put, that's why I don't even want to discuss charging for recycling, or charging for compost, because that's just will turn people off to it.
Yeah.
Enough people have enough trouble with compost and enough trouble with recycling. I don't want to push people away, but this is kind of a basic one, and we need to make it a little bit more equitable.
Okay.
How does
We
the
recycle at my house. We're big on. We do the composting, all that. You know, I've always been about, recycling plastics and anything that'll, we've always done our part. Well, really kind of is disheartening, and not to go against anything what the lady had to say about, recycling, but the real truth is China and Vietnam and India are the 3 largest polluters in the world. They take our recycling and they just dump it in the ocean. I mean, I know it's getting it out of our land, and they're saying, hey, we'll take the recycling, but they do, and then they just throw it in the ocean. So, I don't know. But I still recycle. I still do my part, knowing that.
how would the scrap steel work? Does Casella take it now, or?
Scrap steel is a separate category. We don't pay for the steel to be taken away, but we do pay for the haul. So the haul for steel will be $105 per container every time we have it moved. But we don't pay for the material in it because they make money on that.
Right. So going forward, would Shaftsbury be responsible? That would be or would Casella just still under the
No,
same
that just is another category. There's basically 5 categories in the contract we'll have. It's household waste, recyclables. We still have to have the brush pile and clean wood. We will not be taking C&D, construction and demolition material. That can go to Bennington or Sunderland. And just remind anybody listening at home that the reason we're not going to do that is because we don't have a scale. And without a scale, we are absorbing the loss for every load we take, because it's just a wild guess on how much we take. But everything that hits Casella is going over a scale, and we're paying every penny for it.
Yeah.
So the citizens pay either at Bennington or Sunderland?
Yeah, I mean, like, I take all my stuff, because it's close to my house, up to Sunderland. You just drive over the scale, dump everything in the big building they have there. You go over the scale, and you pay them whatever the rate is, which is what, we should be charging here. Under the contract with TAM and Casella, TAM was absorbing the loss, because Greg is sitting there going, $10. Well, I brought in only a few things to the Casella site. The minimum's $15. So, you know, we're losing every time we do that. But if we keep collecting it, we're paying every penny down at the scale house. And it's just not fair. If you're ripping down your house, it's a little part of doing business. Haul it down and, you know, you gotta pay for it. Part of doing it. You know, and I'll clean the place up a bit too. We are working on an agreement for refrigerators. You get into a whole bunch of things with refrigerants and air conditioners and Freon, which that's another part of this we're kind of working around. Because for us to do that, we're gonna have to send people to classes. They're gonna have to be certified to do it, and this is like, you know. So we're trying to work with a way that Casella will take that, we'll have a separate container, they'll be responsible for cleaning it. I spoke with a couple other guys up there, but this is more of the things, we need a contract with them, not just, you know, we're Joe customer down the road and you're hauling our stuff away. You know, just to be clear on who's responsible for what. Because that can get expensive too.
Yeah.
You know, real quick too. Especially if you have an old piece of equipment.
Okay.
Just need a motion or?
Yes, well, unless there's, yeah, why don't you make the motion, then we can have discussion.
I move that we,
Tony, just speak up really.
oh, I'm sorry. I move that we enact the proposal that we enacted last year to raise the price to $2 for 12 pounds.
Have a motion by Tony,
Second.
second by Ken. Now discussion?
I just had one question. Is the TAM building still in operation, or is that just nothing's
That
happening?
building is not being operated right now. It maintains all its permits. They just are not using it right now. And they have two very, very large facilities, very close.
Oh.
But they're maintaining the permits in case they need it.
No further discussion? Joe, all set? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? So carried, 5-0-0. Anything else on this? We'll be discussing this at the next meeting.
Yeah, we'll take it up at the next meeting.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll have something in writing from Casella we can actually
Good.
talk about.
Okay. Park survey?
Hey, I didn't mean to dump on you guys about the China stuff, the recycling, but the thing is, they're maxed out. That's why they dumped in the ocean. I thought I'd clarify that. They're maxed, they've got so much of it. But anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, next is the Parks Committee has put together a survey that we are putting online starting tonight, but I apparently gave Mike the wrong link. So it'll be active tomorrow. It's a survey for the parks. It will take only a few minutes. It's only 10 questions. If you go to the town website, there'll be a front page thing tomorrow with the link to what's called Survey Monkey. It's very simple. You just check the boxes, hit submit, and we'll collect all the data here. The committee's just really asking a few basic questions, whether they want a performance, band, show, or park kind of music center at Howard Park, what kind of recreation you're looking for, and you know, things along that line. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but we're trying to reach a broader audience than we did with the ice rinks survey, which didn't go over very well. So anyone who has access to a computer can just go on to some Survey Monkey. Anybody who doesn't will be able to pick up a copy downstairs on the counter in front of the clerk's office. You can just fill it out and leave it there and I'll get it. But it's just a kind of grasp what the town would like to see. There's a comment section and the committee's just trying to get some ideas. We have a lot of projects coming up over the next year. A lot of those are infrastructure maintenance projects, though it's not going to be anything dramatic. But as an aside, we have another issue with another funding source. So we might be looking at getting more money for like a seniors exercise trail, they call it, which I think would be very interesting. Because the health fund can probably be used for that as a community health purpose. So things like that we're looking at. But that's why we want to know what people are looking for. What are you looking for in the park? We've done a lot of work over the last few years, and we would just like to keep it going, but we want to go in the direction that people want it. Joe wants to have his concert
shop,
center.
yeah.
No,
I'll see you there.
Yeah.
it's good to see the committee being proactive.
Yeah, it is. And we had also discussed,
Wouldn't it be great though to have a place for like the school kids to put on a play and everybody in town can go watch? I mean, outside or a concert, or I think it'd just be a great place and it would just be a magnet to draw people. We just need money to build it.
Yeah,
yeah, well, it really is an excellent location for something like that.
Yeah.
You really could do something. And one of the things on there, Joe, which would go a long way to implementing things like that, is to hire if the town's interested in having a part-time, like, summer recreation director who could set up programs for kids, programs for the whole town, programs like running concerts at night. Because that takes a lot of cooperation and a dedicated person to make sure that all the things are getting locked afterwards and everything. So, because right now, Yadini runs the whole thing from our home, and everybody who wants a reservation and everything. So, there are a lot of opportunities to use a really, really big piece of land for all kinds of recreation, but it does require someone
to coordinate it.
to coordinate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see.
My only fear if we had an amphitheater or something like that, it would just be vandalism, and hopefully that is not the case.
Well, along those lines, you'll be glad to know that I put in a new security camera system, upgraded the one we have, so beware.
Does it shoot laser beams or anything like that?
That was too expensive. It'll flash a little red light to scare you, but that's all.
Okay.
So that's on the webpage. Well, will be tomorrow when I send Mike the correct link. And we'd appreciate as many people. It'll take just a few minutes. Just a few minutes to fill it out. Not even a few minutes. It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have Village Center recertification.
I just wanted to bring this up quickly. Next week, next meeting, we'll have a resolution for the board to approve. We're up for the renewal of the Village Center designation. I'll send it around. Shelley did a nice little write-up for me on everything that's been done since the last designation. This is more like routine paperwork to keep the designation for the town. Because with the designation, you're eligible for all kinds of extra funding. There's tax breaks. There's historic tax credits up to 25%, 50% code improvement credits. It makes us more eligible for state grants for projects around the town, around the Village Center. So this is more procedural, but I just want to let you know that at the next meeting we'll have a resolution for it. It's not a huge.
It was probably about 20 years ago, the Economic Development Committee put in an application to make this what's called the Village Center, and you're right. We had to go up and testify up in Montpelier. There's a board that approves us and all that sort of stuff. So, but once we were approved, it's just a matter of keep updating, make sure we do things. But what's interesting is that because this is a Village Center designation, somebody can buy a building, upgrade it, electrical, all that sort of stuff, up to code, and a lot of that is tax credits and that type of thing.
Yeah, there's money for replacing facades of buildings. There's a whole lot involved in it. So you want to keep the designation so that anyone who does come in and finds a use for it can get these tax incentives.
Yep.
So it's very good. And that's really all I have.
Okay. So that'll be next meeting also?
That'll be next meeting also.
Okay.
The next one is also kind of next meeting, but I just wanted to make you aware, remind the board and the audience. Our ACO quit and left the state. So ourselves, Arlington and Sunderland, have been without an animal control officer. I've been working with Arlington, and we've come to an agreement. I hope we're coming to an agreement tonight. Our select board is meeting on it tonight. That we will basically share some of the expenses of setting up a little pound there. They have someone who wants to go to work for them and for us. It'll be like a joint meeting, because we'll share some of the expenses of them having a pound. Because the biggest loss we have in this isn't so much the ACO, it's we no longer have a kennel. And a few years ago, I went searching for kennels and found out nobody wants to be involved in this. So the person that we're talking about hiring is interested in they have a lot of property, they will have a little pound on their property. We'll split the expense and just try and make this work. Our old ACO had been the animal control officer for Arlington and Sunderland, for Arlington and Shaftsbury for years, and she had also been the Sunderland one for years also before that. So it's kind of we're doing the same thing, just a little bit different format. And the expense to us will be no different than paying, because we paid about $600 a month for access to the kennel, not for anything we paid her. So
Because she charged over and above that when she did something,
Yeah.
is that right?
yeah, but you know, it's the kennel, and that's been the hold up with anything. And the Pownell had lost theirs; they have one now, and they are setting up their little pound again. So that's really the only solution. Is I perfectly understand, after having talked to some of the kennel owners, that I understand their reluctance. They have customers who bring their dogs in, and they don't
Right.
want a stray dog with unknown disease.
Right.
Because they have customers. I take my dogs to kennel, you know, and I would like to know they're not catching something too. So I understand where they're coming from.
Do you know if Sunderland is in on this agreement also?
I
or
don't
they-
believe so.
You don't believe so, okay? Not that it makes a difference, okay?
No, they would have their own kennel, and then we'd just pay them.
Yeah, it would be building a little pound,
Yeah.
and we will split the cost of that, is what I proposed to them. We'll split the costs of building it and maintaining it, and we'll pay her directly, and they'll pay her directly. You know, it's a simple. It's a lot of things that really need to be done mutually between towns to solve some of these issues. There's no way to find an individual to do this for one pound. Well, there might be, but then we also have to have a pound.
Yeah.
So we would have to build a pound at like the garage or something, and you know, that's like something I don't want to get into. If there's any way on earth to avoid that, I don't want to get involved.
Right.
So I'll bring you up to date on that. Probably I'll send you all an email, because I'll probably hear about that pretty shortly.
Yeah. Good.
So that's good. And the big one, DPW report.
Understand Mike's on vacation this week, or was he last
Mike
week?
is back.
Back, okay.
Back, but he's been at 6, so I said I would just run through this for him tonight. We'll start with what's just on the plans now, bring you up to date on some of the grants. We were just notified of the grants for fiscal 22 and the general grants and aid for the state. We were awarded $20,900. We'll put up a $5,000 match. And we were planning on using that because of the municipal road general permit for Cole Hall here. The drainage system out here is one of the primary issues on our rankings in the stormwater master plan. So we're going to use that to fix this, and that works into our plan to be developed at front. Because I've been talking to parks and still waiting to hear from the veterans about redesigning this using all the funds we have. And this is a big one, getting $26,000 for this to also help with that. We were notified that we just received another grant for $26,660, and that'll be for West Mountain Road. This is work we plan to do probably by the fall. 3 stone pillows, stone lined ditches with check dams, French drain. This is all on the hill by the apple orchard. We're going to try and get that water out of the road at any expense, or at least at $33,000 worth of expense.
As you're starting up the hill headed west.
Yeah, there's several different sections. It's broken up.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I think anybody who's been down there on a wet day knows the areas I'm talking about. So
Will we put that out to bid, or will we try to?
no,
do
that has
it?
to go out to bid. We're
Has
not going to do that ourselves.
Okay,
All these will go out to bid.
okay.
We were awarded another grant from the Better Back Roads for $48,000 to replace a very large culvert at the very end of Shaftsbury Hollow Road. It's collapsing. It's been on the target for a while. That's going to go out to bid too.
Finally.
It's very large, this culvert,
Yeah.
but it has to go before it collapses.
This isn't the big.
This isn't the hideaway. No, that's a whole nother. That's a $500,000 culvert.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
so-
so this is all the way to the end.
All the way to the end. The last, it's just before the what's that place called at the end?
Madison's Camp.
Madison's Camp?
Maybe, but it's just There's the last place up that goes up to the left, and if you go up there, the stream goes pretty well. And A&R came in, and we had to like triple the size of the culvert itself. But it's all permitted, it's ready to go, and we just got $48,000 to do it. We'll have a $9,000 match on that, but we'll bid that out. That probably will be bid to have the work done before June of next year. We'll get that out. The Buck Hill Road, we were recommended for approval. What we want to do is put an 1 3/4 overlay on Buck Hill Road from one end to the other. That'll probably be done next summer, because what we're going to do is a lot of tree work, cut the trees back on the road, put in about 4 or 5 culverts, replace 4 or 5 culverts, so they'll be there. Now, this was also applied for in conjunction with paving the last part of East Road going up towards the reservoir from where we started, like, what was that, 6, 7 years ago. We started paving southbound. Well, now we're going to turn and go northbound from just below Reservoir Road to the Route 7 overpass, and that'll be an overlay too. Because there's a few rough spots that are always rough, but we didn't. That wasn't included in this, even though it was one application for the whole thing. So Mike's going to check with Chris down at the state. We think it was just kind of overlooked, but they didn't see it the right way.
Dave, are they going to continue that pavement up beyond Holy Smoke Road?
We have no plans to do that at this point.
Because you got about a mile right there that, as far as I'm concerned, you can take it right off.
Yeah, that's a discussion that we need to have. That's a big stretch. It's going to chew up a lot of money, and there's nothing there. It's just a paved spot between 7. I think they just paved it because they were paving the highway.
Well, when they changed the road, because
Yeah,
East Road used to go up by White Cemetery.
yeah. So now
And
they
then
just paved
when they
the
cut
second
that
road.
off, they just run it up there another mile.
Yeah, and you really have to question whether going through the expense, which would probably be a good $100,000 to pave that section, just to get you to the beginning of a dirt road when there's nothing on either side, whether that's,
There's one house.
yeah, so maybe just start the dirt road several thousand feet earlier and save a few $100,000.
You know, I mean, I think you want to go a few 100 feet maybe beyond Holy Smoke, so you're not stopping blacktop right on a.
Yeah, you don't want to
intersection.
end right on the thing, but you don't, honestly, I don't see any point in me doing it all the way.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, if there were a lot of houses or people were used to it, it'd be one thing, but it's really just connecting to a dirt road.
Now, are we going to recycle that before they pave it on the East Road or no?
We'll have to get into the bid documents, but normally they do that, so.
Because it lasts a lot longer if you grind it
Yeah,
up.
when you grind it up, yeah.
Because you're redoing the whole thing.
Yeah. I don't remember off the top of my head if we asked for it on that one.
Because if you got big holes in pavement
Mm-hmm.
and then you pave over it,
Big holes.
Yeah, I
they're
mean,
going to come back.
that's why, we're kind of at a disadvantage because they didn't get back because they kind of dropped it off for some reason. So I'll have to get back to you on that one.
I mean, if they don't do that, they should shim coat it and then
Yeah.
pave it over full.
Yeah, I think
If you don't just pave over and leave them holes
that's
there.
basically what this will be here, because this isn't going to be milled.
Yeah.
We're not going to mill Buck Hill.
But Buck Hill is positive.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, it's been recommended,
okay.
which in every grant they've ever said is recommended we get. They never
Okay.
turn down a district. That would be,
Yeah.
Okay,
if anything, we're going to get more money because hopefully there's going to be a lot more money out there.
okay.
All right, then let's see. Hold on, we'll go to the next page. Work this week is Lower East Road ditching, Buffon Hollow and Daniels. They're going to finish up with seeding and mulching. Next week, they're headed back to Rollin for 3 stone pillows and 2 culverts that need to be lowered from where they are now, and there'll be some additional ditching over there.
So they'll probably shut down Rollin Road.
Yeah, they'll probably be down for bits and pieces of that. But a lot of times when we put the culverts in, you can maintain one lane. It depends on how they do it. I'm not exactly sure the length of these, but
Depends how wide the road is.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
it's a narrow road, you better shut it down.
yeah.
I have a culvert at the bottom of my driveway, so they better let me know.
So come out there and there'll be a big ditch there.
Just get a start, you jump it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So the next item is, unless there's any questions on any of that,
At one time, we were gonna get an RFP for engineering of the White Creek Road. Did he ever put that out to bid or anything?
yeah, I asked him this morning, he was gonna check on that.
Okay.
It occurred to me over the weekend that, whatever happens to these people from the state who are gonna look into the side here,
Okay.
it just never seemed to.
The ideal was we would have a shovel-ready thing going if the state ever came up with a lot of money. 'Cause
Yeah, and
that's
they-
gonna be a big one.
Yeah, that is gonna be a big one. If
Okay.
that thing really has the problems it appears to have,
It does.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
gonna be a lot of money.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well,
Did
keep
you
after
ever-
it for us.
Okay.
Did you ever get a study on as you're going up the hill, on top of the hill where that corner keeps sliding out, on White Creek Road?
Across
That's
from
what we're talking
Sticks.
about. Yeah, where
Yeah.
it kind of keeps sinking in there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Plus, the state was gonna have the hydrologist, and then we were gonna put together a thing, and it just, I have to check to see what happened to it.
Okay.
Because it occurred to me this morning, I mentioned it this morning.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it stayed pretty good the last time they filled it, but
It's been very steady, but it is just a fix. It's
Yeah.
not
yeah,
a cure. It's just,
there's probably 3 foot of blacktop in there.
oh, that was pretty deep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that'll start, the right weather conditions, and that'll start slipping off too, so,
Well, it'll go again.
yeah,
You got 2 layers of clay down there.
Yeah.
yeah. So, road that should have been moved over some. All right, then the other thing was the excavator replacement and the purchase of a roadside mower. So I called the state again, and they're gonna have a meeting, and I have no idea when for that grant from them. But I think it's time to move on. We've already budgeted $24,000 to buy the roadside mower for the next 5 years. So Mike is gonna put together specs to go out to bid. He has a couple more he wants to look at. New Holland just came into the picture, and they're offering the same transmission as the one he was looking at in another one, so we're seeing what they have to say. We have talked to a lot of excavators. We're gonna go look at one. I shouldn't say we're, I'm not gonna have anything to do with it, but we're gonna go look at another one. And New Holland has also said they'd like to have a word about that too, because they have a similar piece of equipment. So Mike's gonna get a bunch of things together, make a presentation, and we're gonna have a bid specs. We expect to have the bids ready to go for the board at the June 22nd meeting. We'll make the bids due on July 19th, and we're gonna set an award date for August 2nd, for both pieces of equipment. And, the excavator, we can afford, it'll require a slight increase in the contributions to the equipment fund for the next 4 years. But in the long run, it'll save us money. And I can balance it out over the 4 years. And like I said, the mower is already budgeted, it's already in there, so we were gonna do that anyway. So what we'll do is, just move forward on both of those. We've gotten some, estimates of the trade-in value of the Volvo. They're pretty good. And we'll just see the finals. I don't want to talk too much about what people are saying it's worth, to give anybody some idea what they should be offering. But,
Right.
yeah, I think things are progressing. And we'll get the bids out. I think it's time to just get the bids out. If the state comes through at the last minute and they finally have this meeting and decide we can have a loan, it's almost like at the rate of loans these days, it's, okay, big deal, 2%, and I can go to a bank and get 2.5%. So it's not that big a deal anymore.
Has anybody brought a machine over for excavator demos?
Mike has been on a number of them. They don't bring them here. They haven't had one here that I'm aware of. But Mike's familiar with most all of them.
You could get some of the machines that, I don't care if you got it for 5 cents, they ain't worth it if you don't do what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you can't, this is really one of those occasions where you can't just go for the lowest thing, there's certain things, it's like the transmission which on the mower, which you had a very good point on, certainly something I wouldn't have known, but, that's why I have it. New Holland says they have the same transmission on theirs, so we're gonna see what New Holland has to say. And I think we're at the point really where you just have to let's put the specs together, put it out, have them send in their stuff, and then we can evaluate what we're offering.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all big names what we're doing here. I mean, from New New Holland Case, Volvo, Cat. You know, we'll see what they come up with. Yeah, I think even Doosan is in there on one. So.
There's still some of them, David. I'm telling you.
Well, yeah. Well, let's see. You know, bidding is. Let's see who comes up with something. And
Yeah.
they'll have to fit very specific specs for these things.
Right.
I mean, Mike knows what he wants, and it's going to be down for what he wants.
Can everybody in the crew drive these machines?
Yeah.
Or are they specialized?
No, everybody should be able to use everything. And this excavator is going to be much smaller than the thing we have now.
So is it transported on a flatbed or are you just,
This will be. Yeah, this will have its own trailer. So the trailer is an extra expense, which, you know, isn't really that expensive. We don't even need a new trailer, really.
No.
Plus, we're not hauling anything.
You're not going to be using it that often.
Yeah, you know, it's not like we're going to drive it 40 miles to a job site. We're going
Right.
to drive it 2 miles to a job site. So that's kind of a minor part of it. But the excavator itself, yeah, because different crews go out ditching, and you know, everyone should be able to use that.
I was going to say, they were all taught, right? Because
Yeah.
we had an issue with
What's that?
with grading the road, the way they
Well,
were grading.
Grading
Yeah, I
is a
mean,
different
the
animal.
ideal for me would
Yeah.
be for every crewman, everyone on the crew to be able to run every piece of equipment you
Yeah,
got.
yeah.
The toughest
Well,
machine is
that
going
makes
to be the
sense.
grader.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Grading is tough.
It
grading
tough.
is a different thing. You can operate the grader. Can you do a good job?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the roads are in great shape.
They're unbelievable.
I
Yeah.
mean, they're, you know,
They are. They're in very good shape, and
yeah,
the way things are going, they're going to stay that way and just continue to get better.
yeah, yeah.
And we just got a pile of money in grants to, you know, the best part about these grants and like putting these things out, like West Mountain to bid, is the crew doesn't spend 3 weeks there doing this. Because the West Mountain is, I think Mike said, it will take easily a week to do all these
Yeah.
things. Well, for us having 5 guys or 6 guys there for a week means an awful lot else just didn't get done.
Yeah.
So this works out very well. But anyway, so that's the timeline we were thinking for moving this along, is to get this thing done. And again, for most of this year, as I told Mike, for the grants we just got, a lot of this work, we're talking 22, after July 22, because the culvert at the hideaway up on Shaftsbury Hollow is going to eat up everything in the fiscal 22 budget.
That's right.
You know,
It's going to take two budgets.
yeah, it's the end of this year's budget, because we already spent $130,000, I think it was, to buy the culvert, which is in 1,000 pieces up at the garage that has to be assembled. And, you know, the rest of it is all the excavation, the temporary bridge that has to go in. It's about $375,000 project, so.
But that's under contract.
That's under contract.
That's all.
Weaver has a contract, it's starting in 2 weeks. Signs will be going up tomorrow, hopefully, we got them today. We're gonna put signs up on Shaftsbury Hollow instead of trying to send letters to everybody, that way everyone will just see them. The road, a temporary 1-lane bridge which is going in, so the road will never actually be closed. This could take from the end of June to the end of August. That's what we're getting estimated as, so. And that's if everything goes right, because Weaver has a contract, but of course you have to sub out Contact who makes the culvert. They send a crew in to assemble the culvert. So, you know, the timing has to be right with that, and then putting the road back together and everything, so. It's quite a large project.
Is there any concrete work around it, or is it just the culvert in there?
There is, but that's getting a little too deep in the weeds for me. There undoubtedly is some concrete in it somewhere.
They probably got concrete footings that they'll
Yeah,
put
there
down
has to be
and tie
somewhere,
the
yeah.
culvert down to it.
Yeah,
I imagine.
I just have a picture of the culvert, it's 10,000 pieces.
It's a pipe arch culvert.
Yeah.
I can see by the shape of it up there.
Yeah. But that's all set to go.
And it all bolts
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, they all hold together, so yeah, that's in water.
Right.
And that's,
At one time, we were talking about an experimental road sealer
I
for
was
the
gonna
dirt
ask you that.
roads.
yes, that's looking at July.
Okay.
Mike wanted to wait till July so that we can do it when it's potential for being dustier.
Okay.
Do a couple of roads. There's also some other town they haven't told us yet around here, so we're going to split a load
Yep.
and fill up our tanks and see how that works.
Good.
You know, it's a few $1,000s, but if it works better than what we're using now, and what we're using now, applied correctly, is way better than what we were using. And this should, from how it's built, could even be much better than that.
Yep.
So,
Didn't the state give us a load of blacktop that was recycled?
yes, that we used over on
East Road, I think. Did we?
No, that was
Used it on Myers Road.
yeah,
Myers
Myers
Road?
Road. It was recycled shingles.
Shingles.
Right, how was
Yeah.
it? Do we know?
Yeah, it worked fine. It was okay. It wasn't end
Yeah.
of the world, but with this new material on top of that, it probably would be really something. That's a whole thing we're going through in the solid waste because we have to build a recycling plant for shingles,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'll let you know how that pans out. After we got money, because we were given a grant, and
Yeah.
asked to join that, so
Yeah.
and then just
It-
boom, done. Nobody ever mentions it.
No.
But we have to have, in this county, all the counties do, all the solid waste districts have to have a way of recycling this, so. It has some issues though, you know.
Yeah.
Because you have to make sure you get all this stuff out of it. So,
Yeah. I mean,
It's an
that's
interesting concept, because there's
oh, yeah, but
tons and
still,
tons and tons of it.
you've got to have volume too.
Yeah, yeah, you really have to have volume. I mean, we didn't do that much, but that whole load came from up north.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's not off the table. It's just went from, it seemed like a couple of years ago, like the world was on fire. We have to get these.
And then
people down the
boom,
road,
it died.
And then, no, well, done with that money, so
Yeah.
let's move on to something
Yeah.
else. So it's still out there. It's still part of the state rules for recycling, and we still have to do something with it. And
I think it'll pick up once we get back to normal, because I think people then will begin to rethink all of this stuff.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think about all the containers, all the takeout containers that, that we just sort of,
Yeah,
you know.
a lot of takeout containers.
Oh, yeah.
15 months.
Yeah, so.
Okay, so the excavator and the roadside mower will go out to bid on the 22nd? Or is that when they gotta come back in?
On the 22nd, they'll be put out. If that's the next select board meeting, we'll just send copies to the board. And unless there's some questions on it, we will put them out on the 23rd, actually, is when
Yep.
they'll go out.
Okay,
And they'll be due back July 19th. That's the day I get back from vacation as a meeting night. Because we're just going to open them. And then
Yep.
Mike will have to go
Well, Mike
through
has to
them
go
and
through them.
see.
And-
So we'll award it at the next select board meeting, which is the 2nd. It really doesn't put us off much because the lead on a mower is 9 to 12 months, so it doesn't really matter.
okay.
The excavator, though, is that might come pretty rapidly. It depends on what's available.
Some of them are sitting in a yard.
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
and some, if they have one and they have a hot bid in their hand, they're going to get it shipped from somewhere so they can deliver it.
Yep.
So it's probably good to get on this now too, because and I think, just being realistic, something's going to come out of Washington on infrastructure.
Yeah.
And then the price of this equipment is going to start
Yeah.
going up because there's going to be huge demand for the new equipment for the amount of jobs. So
Yeah.
I think it'd be better to jump on this now and just get it.
Okay,
Now, your excavator's gonna have a thumb, cleanup bucket, and digging bucket.
Yeah.
Okay.
check with Mike on the specs. Mike's writing up the specs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Work with him.
Yeah.
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 Dave doesn't do that, that's Mike's job,
Thumb,
okay?
Well, I know what a thumb is. Not a thumb. Yeah,
Okay,
and you'll see all the specs, yeah, because that really is,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you don't have the right equipment with it, you must well not have it.
Yeah, no, I agree, yeah.
anything else? Okay. Moving on, Grandview Street or Grandview Avenue update.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention where we've gone with that. The grant application is in for the pedestrian bicycle grant. The speed survey was completed. We're still working on the signs for the roadway, and actually the grass is growing pretty well up there. It's looking pretty good. We'll get to a community meeting so we have more information. I'm still waiting on, they had to send my speed device to Paulette or someplace like that. And then when it comes back, we're gonna do Hawks, so we can have both roads, and we can discuss the outcome of that. I had Green Mountain Power up there, you know, it's easy to put in the 4 lights. It only costs like $28 a month. But, you know, there's another thing when we meet with the citizens from the area. You know, I would encourage they pause and think about the alteration to their street, because even for street lights with the new LED lights, it's going to be a lot brighter. The street is not going to be the same. So I want them to think about that.
Did you have the speed data analyzed, and did that go in with the grant application?
No, because I don't have the complete data set by the
Okay.
due date. But it's not anything remarkable.
I didn't think so.
And we'll go through the whole thing. Like I said, when you have Hawks, which I expect to come out the same way.
Okay.
It's fairly low volume. The only outlier I can recall was one car over 50, with the average being way down by 30. You know, if you're the person the car's going by at 50 miles an hour, you don't appreciate it. I understand.
Oh,
It's,
sorry.
you know,
Okay.
we'll see what we can. When we put the whole thing together,
We're gonna
talk
have
with the community group.
Yeah, this is to let everybody know we are gonna have a public meeting there to get their,
Yeah.
show them what we've done so far, and really make them think about, do they want streetlights and that sort of stuff, okay?
Yeah, and it'll be at least 2 months before we hear back about the grant.
Okay.
So with that.
I just, one thing, you wanna have Mike look into a small hydro seeder for the town?
Okay.
Cause I think it'll save, in the first year, you'll save the cost of it in labor.
This is different than the thing that spits out the bales?
Yeah.
Okay,
This will seed it, fertilize it, and mulch it all in one operation.
okay. Okay,
And it'll meet all the standards for there's erosion control and everything. Because what it does, it puts on like a paste,
Yeah.
and when it dries, it's like paper.
Yeah.
And,
It's made out of recycled, the compost
well,
is
yeah, it
recycled
uses
paper.
grown up newspaper
Yeah,
okay then.
or wood.
yeah.
Yep. Yep. All right.
500 gallon probably do all he needs. I'd give him the name of a good brand.
But we have to keep the mulcher for another couple of years.
Well, you could use the mulcher and the hydro seeder right over it. You know,
Yeah.
it would double your coverage. Because they got a thing called tackifier you put in there, it'll just like glue it right down. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Let's look into it.
Okay, seems like an eternity, but how many months ago did we sit here and made a decision to say that the select board stands behind a business asking them to wear a mask, asking a customer to wear a mask?
Yes, we passed an emergency order to wear a mask in Shaftsbury back in July, and we need to have the board vote to rescind that order.
And we will apply, or we will go from now on with the state recommendation? Is that the way to put it?
I think we can, if the board should consider just rescinding the emergency order and not referring to any state order or what.
Okay,
You know, because we're not gonna do anything to enforce that.
no.
We should just rescind that we're saying you should wear a mask.
With a business owner having the option of continuing it.
Yeah,
Yes.
we don't control them.
Right.
Paul Inns
Just us.
was wear a mask. I put a mask on when I walk into Paul Inns. Yeah, we're not saying you have to do anything. We're just saying that we're not telling you you have to do it. Actually, we're making it easier for those people to make up their own minds. So that's the careful wording is, we vote to rescind the
Order.
the emergency health order of July 2021, requiring masks to be worn in businesses in Shaftsbury.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that's a move by Tony, second by Ken. Discussion? Joe, all set?
All set.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So carried, 500. Okay. Action items. Boy, we got quite a list here. Kind of working backwards, we are going to ask Mike to look into a possible hydroseeder, what the cost would be. He is going to put out, or construct the bids, and Ken's going to work with him on the excavator and the mower. We're going to look into if anybody ever followed through with an RFP for engineering of the White Creek Road. Other than that, we have all the grants that'll be going out to bid as times go. Is there a set date for each of these going out to bid on the grants that were awarded to us?
Yeah, and they're gonna go from now until next year.
Okay,
Because some of them don't have a sunset till the beginning of '23.
okay,
And like I said, because the hideaway is chewing up all our spare cash this year.
that's right, because there's matches to these that we have to come up
Yeah.
with. Okay. Okay, anybody else got any stuff? Any other business?
No?
That's me.
Oh, there is one other thing. Part of our ongoing discussion of the dissolution of the health fund. We want to make a presentation to the Attorney General's office that we will be moving that money to partially to Julia Madison, which is for the care of indigent women and people who need financial assistance, and to the recreation fund to build, like I said before, the AARP has like a seniors exercise circuit, things like that, so that we can put the money in the health fund to use for community health improvement. There's all kinds of exercise pathways you can build with different age groups, and just use the money that way, so that we can actually put it to use. There's been one case in maybe the last 20 years where it's been used for anything. I'd like to see like an exercise, small one in Cleveland Park up in the town, so that people could use it, and we think that'll be acceptable to change that fund.
But we've got to go to a judge or the Attorney General to
Yeah.
get that switched.
Well, we've left the courts. The courts decided they didn't want to be bothered with this any longer.
Okay.
Or they decided they put us on a new rule, and now we're dealing with the Attorney General's office. And we're almost complete. They had questions about moving the health fund, making sure it was actually designated to some health benefits. Marilyn and I have been talking about it. We just think that we can use it for in recreation
Yeah.
and build
That's right.
community exercise things for different age groups. So I think that's worthwhile to get it sit, doing nothing.
Okay. Anything else? Well, it's good to meet everybody again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Oh,
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.